This is a nice pair. Verizon Wireless MiFi. For internet, mobile, broadband, internet access. Kindle Fire. For going anywhere you want to go in your mind. This is a continuation of the videos I've been doing on Molasses Moon, my nonfiction book, light satire. And I've finished reading the book, and I'm now continuing with some of the themes, weaving them into the present day. And speaking of present day, today is Wednesday, March 14th, 2012. And so the pausing on the providing of a date, what does that mean? Let's see if I can pull out something as I move along in the video and tie all this stuff together. Okay, I was going to list maybe some of the ongoing topics, make note of some of the previous videos. To start with, of course I'm recording these at a different time than I'm uploading them, but I'm getting closer to just being a day or two delayed. The previous video, number 57, will be uploaded today if everything goes as planned, or this evening. And this one, number 58, is being recorded obviously right now. My door is open still in the evening, this March, almost springtime day. It's kind of interesting as it blows forward and backward a little bit, which reminds me of my fan or ghost or whatever it is that's been appearing in these videos with a kind of a breathing, little bit of a hissing sound, which comes in interesting places for an exclamation point of something that's being said. Now, one of the recent videos, I can't remember which one, I heard another sound that, clear as day for me, was footsteps walking somewhere right around me in this kitchen. Kind of a shuffling type footstep. I'm assuming if this is a ghost that's honoring its our presence here in this video, that the footsteps are another manifestation of the breathing. It's interesting too that I don't hear these sounds at all while I'm recording, but when I play them back, they're plain as day, so to speak. It's kind of an interesting thing, and it's actually welcome, because so far the points of vocal presence, if you want to call it that, are always very interesting and seem kind of appropriate, and they're fun to watch. So, okay, before I start, I think I'll take a drink of from my water bottle. I'm not knowing where I want to go today. There's a lot I want to talk about, but I'm not really sure which things I want to open with. The main thing I had in mind was the date. I also had thoughts maybe of doing a little bit of what I described in my mood news column, in case anybody hasn't seen the videos before and wants to know what I use as a chapstick sometimes in addition to or just in place of your normal types that you get on the market. I had in mind to maybe start each session with an astrological update like I did in my mood news column. You'll see more of that, and actually have a few of them read in Sliding Down Moonbeams. And I am not sure, but I think I read some of those in Quarter Moon Dews. I'll have to check if this becomes something that I do with any type of regularity. Of course, you could check too if you wanted to get copies of those books and see what's there. Curiosity about the mood news columns, and of course with Kindle you can always search on your books and just search that term, mood news, see where they come up, and I could do the same. I could even do it right now, but I don't think I will because it would take too much time. You'd just be watching me fooling around with my Kindle, and I can't do it showing it. So anyway, this thing's getting so off base, I'm probably going to end up having to start over or just not use it. And I hate wasting things. But I'm sure it'll, at a what do you call it, a loss for words, which is pretty strange for me. Okay, what that brought to mind is something I really did want to point out. In contrast to this video being a tiny bit slow and empty to start, and yet again, maybe it isn't. Things always surprise me later when I see how they fit, when I'm squirming around a little bit. Video number in the Molasses Moon series here, number 47. Interesting, the year I was born. The year a lot of baby boomers were booming around in their little cribs. Video number 47 has by far way more views than any other video here. And seeing that, I noticed at first, I think it was yesterday, that it had 66 views. And that had jumped up quite a bit, I think, from, it might have been actually 47 views of number 47. And then when I looked again today, it was already up to 81. And I think the highest on the others, one is 40 views, and another one is, I think, 51 and 54. 51 is the first video, and 54 was one of the ones, number 35, I think, that brought out the strongest paranormal story, the one of me doing my alternate reality or double or split consciousness thing, where I actually presented what appeared to be a physical presence within a dream my mom was having. Now I'm kind of wondering, there's a couple purposes I can imagine that might have been, that I was given the information of something that I obviously do, recalling the feelings on that day and other days, but that I don't remember the specifics when I'm in this other place doing something in addition to where I am at the time and awake. I've given already a few theories in other videos, but one that I never mentioned yet is that it's very possible, I just had this feeling, Mom was, she said, very upset and afraid. It was like a nightmare, and she thought she heard someone breaking into her house. And I'm wondering if possibly what might have caused me to do something this extreme, which I before that time had not done this very often, as far as the exact types of feelings that I had at that time when she described I was in her dream. That maybe she was close to having a heart attack within the dream, a serious enough one that it might have either killed her or caused her to be well, just basically in sad shape, and something that probably just was not supposed to happen to her at that time. So maybe that's what I did, is saved her from that. I don't know for sure. But the strongest feeling, that's pretty strong. And the other one is just that she would be the most likely person for me to do this with, who could actually report to me that I am doing it. And recently I've had a thought that I might mention to my friend Dr. B.J. Ferrell, who's a highly spiritual person, and that we've shared a lot of these type of things, and she's also a very metaphysically adept person, to see if I can appear in some strong way in some of her astral travels, and then have her report to me what occurred, just as an experiment to see if I can move along a little bit forward in this type of capacity, in a way of teaching other people that might be doing this. So just to recognize it, if you've ever noticed yourself in a state of mind that feels very sleepy, but it's not a normal type of sleepy. It's a type where you feel literally like your consciousness, your focus is being split, and it's somewhere else in addition to where you are, and where you're conscious and aware and physically present. And that's about all. It just, you really literally feel like you're split. Not just your consciousness, but it's focus. It's not consciousness, it's focus that you feel is split. And some people might do that, and they'd have to be extremely physical. Their natal birth chart would have to have a lot of earth signs, a lot of earth presence, which is what relates to the physical part of the world, because of the amount of physical energy it takes. It's very possible they might even have to be an earth sun sign, as well as having a lot of earth presence in their chart. And the chart I'm talking about can only be drawn up if you know the exact time of birth, and the latitude, longitude, as well as the day and month and year. And the 3 earth signs, if you're curious, are Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo. Of course, Taurus is the first sign that comes into the zodiac, and Virgo is second. Capricorn is the third. Capricorn is actually naturally at the midheaven, or the 12 o'clock noon part of the chart. And that reminds me of how much I hate daylight savings time as an astrologer. But that would make a little bit of a sidetrack right now, which I won't take. It does relate to all these things. The one of how much physical energy it takes a person with dyslexia and no earth. I have no earth in my chart. It's all air, which is mental, fire, which is spiritual, and water, which is emotional and intuitive. And this was all, the more I study astrology and reflect on things, events, and people that I can see from their charts, the more it's obvious to me that the design, or I don't know what you'd call it, the intelligent design that created all that we're aware of, is indeed beyond awesome. If nothing else, the way I practice astrology has taught me that. So the earth signs, which are the physical, and as I said, the air signs are mental, and if depending on your balance of these signs, fire, earth, air, or water, you have those capacities within you stronger or weaker. And then, of course, it also depends how these elements are manifested in the chart, by what planets and what location. Any planet especially, or sun and moon, at the very top of the chart, the 12 o'clock noon position, or the midheaven, usually takes precedence of focus on the chart. So say if you have Jupiter in Leo at the top of your chart or in the midheaven, and you're a Gemini, it's very possible that you will show a lot more Leo traits than you would Gemini. So here I've sidetracked into a tiny bit of an astrology lesson based off the earth signs, which base off the amount of memory you can retain when you do any type of travel outside of your body, or just the memory you can retain from any type of non-physical pursuits. Also reflects, though, I have a very short-term memory, as I've mentioned before, and a lot of that relates to the no earth signs, because it's also not just short-term, but memory of physical details. Like when I'm reading, it's harder for me to read stories with a lot of physical detail, like James A. Michener, space, Hawaii. I'd love to be able to read these stories and enjoy them as they were meant to be. But there's so much physical detail, it's hard for me to just visualize and memorize, especially if there are a lot of names and dates and locations. With a no earth chart, it makes this very difficult. I'm wondering now too if dyslexia might be relate to a lack of earth in a person's chart, because it would be a physical, practical stability, I think, that would allow you to retain left, right, and up, down. Other theories are that the left and right brain are both very strong and might kind of flip and back and forth in balance or focus, which might cause a little bit of this problem too. Here I am just kind of wandering and wondering again and rambling. And I've been wanting to try to focus a tiny bit more and present something more from a left brain, organized fashion. But that is not my strong suit. So I'll hope that people watching this, if you've been drawn in by me, my essence and presence and Molasses Moon anyway, you're already a person that, whether you're aware of it or not, has the capacity for the right brain, less logical seemingly, has his own type of logic, less methodical and less orderly or organized. So where to go next? Topics, themes that we've been carrying. One of the ones that relates somewhat to what I talked about with Lonnie in his feedback to me, which was described in that video number 47 that's been so highly viewed. It's almost, I'm getting to the 100th monkey level, when enough people see something that it makes a breakthrough of some type. That'll be fine. Looking at that one again, number 47 in this Molasses Moon series, it does present the heart of this book, of all the themes coming together. It is like a good, nice little nutshell of the whole book. And not only does it finish the last chapter and open the epilogue, but the way everything that's presented in it, even the ad lib into the present, bringing the reading into the present of my thoughts as I'm reading. It's a good nutshell. So if a person wanted to just see one of these that might give you a taste of the whole, it would be that one. It would be interesting, though. I'm very curious to see exactly what caused this to take off as it did. I do remember juggling the tags, I think at one point when it started out, might have started out a little bit slow or something. It does have a lot of tags, I think, if I remember correctly. Actually, usually I try to put as many in there as I can and try to keep them as closely focused to what is in the video as possible. So, okay, I've been talking a little bit about this tumor that I think the growth has been aggravated by some of the intensity of soy applied in powdered form into powdered drinks, specifically lemonade and the drinks, smoothie type drinks from high quality espresso bars. I keep wondering why, what's the purpose? The soy is not needed. For the people that truly understand soy the best, I think, as far as food is related, it really isn't necessary. So I just keep wondering. I can understand the powdered forms for the farming spelled with a PH for pharmaceutical type farming, PH instead of F. That makes sense. But I just don't understand why they're putting so much soy in various forms in all the foods available. I don't think any of this is motivated really by money or income. For the good people, of course, it will be motivated by them believing, which I just can't agree with, that it's somehow a superfood or a high value nutrition or nutrient. That's the one thing I can't buy. I think I can get close to thinking that maybe most people can get around any harm that it might cause in foods. But I honestly cannot believe that there's any true nutritive value in it. And there's so many people involved in this industry, and I don't want it to crash because that hurts a lot of people. And it's big enough that it could literally crash our economy, and the whole world is dependent on it. So I too want to find ways or think of ways or just hope ways will come forward and become stronger that the soybean product can be used in truly beneficial ways. And as I said, those I could see, it is so strong, however they manipulate it genetically or whatever's done to it for some reason. If it retains anything of the soy essence or DNA, it's incredibly strong, and it retains its own integrity still, that it feels like it attempts not to bond or blend or synergize with anything that's in its presence. It seems to retain its own integrity. That to me is a good thing, and that's something that could be of tremendous value. The only time it seems like it breaks down into maybe parts that could be used in food is as it supposedly was originally intended, according to the Asians who started using it back in, I think, 1100 BC, I think it was, but the date is in the article called The Dark Side of Cinderella by Doctors Mary Enig and Sally Fallon. Originally used to be tilled into the ground. The glyph of the soybean, of their 7, I think, sacred seeds that they have, it being one of those, their glyph showed it only in the root form, whereas the other seeds are shown, or the glyphs of them, with the above ground leaves and other parts. And the theory is also, or the fact supposedly, that they use the soybean to till into the soil as a soil conditioner or to be a nutrient to things they grow that way or grew. So I know, since I do believe in intelligent design as well as evolution, as I've stated before, because intelligent design would have been dynamic to be creating life, and evolution appears to be the motion, if you want to call it that, of the dynamics of life, and that the design would have incorporated some type of dynamic. It would have to. So since I believe that obviously soybeans, like everything else, was created in this intelligent design, then it has a purpose. That's the one thing about intelligent design. It has purpose. Everything in it has purpose, synergistic and interconnected purpose. So I'm just putting my mind toward the good people in all these industries, moving these things ahead to their most beneficial format. So in clothing or in things, maybe some of the plastics they're using for containers and that type of thing, maybe the soybean essence will retain its own integrity enough to not impart, hopefully nothing, and maybe very little of anything, to whatever they're containing, especially if it's something that we might be ingesting or putting on our skin or breathing in some way. It's funny though that cooking with soybean oils or soybeans in foods, it does go into the air where it's being cooked, and you can definitely smell it. So it can be aromatic, but I think in its most natural use, it really doesn't want to be. So to me, that's a good thing. I'm sure the good people will evolve this. They'll just be following their own spirits one way or another. And we'll evolve this, I hope, toward benefit. And hopefully, too, people recognizing one way or another the lack of benefit in foods. Or, like I said, if they want to use it with adventurous people that want, maybe it'll evolve to a point if it's not at OD level of being forced in everything. Maybe they will be able to work into some foods that a good majority of people, young, strong, healthy, adventurous, could enjoy. My choice, though, I definitely want what feels like real food to me, and maybe part of that is because I was born in 47, part of the baby boomer group, and was raised on food that had not been forced to evolve more rapidly than at least was natural at that time. So, but back to me ingesting the lemonade and the smoothies with the soybean powder in it, believing that it caused a surge in the growth of the tumor in my spine. I'm making some good progress with that, with some help with my friend Dr. B.J. Ferrell. And I think I want to check with her first before I mention specifically what she contributed. But overall, I am discovering that I think it's just the magnesium again that in its own time and way will work with this. And I also did quit drinking any powdered drinks in restaurants or anywhere else. And this kind of makes me angry because I really I like these drinks. I like supporting those little coffee bars that are local. I really enjoyed going in there, getting a smoothie and paying them, supporting them, sharing what with them, I don't know. It's good though. And I miss being able to order lemonade in restaurants because sometimes I just crave it. So just because they're putting soybean in there, in the powder, I can't go by my taste buds and drink something that has a fly in the ointment. I'm not happy about that. I don't mind though, if people want it, just give me a choice. More and more, we're having restaurants being opened and succeeding very well. Some of them have become chains. We don't have any locally yet, but that are advertising that they are organic. Everything that they produce and on their menu is organic, which means there's no GMOs in it. And some of them are also doing no soy. And let's see what the main things. Also, when it's organic, it means no preservatives and or chemical injections other than just the food itself and what normally goes with it. With organic spices, same thing. So there's nothing like citric acid or all these other extra high, ascorbic acids that are put in foods that already have natural citric acid, which is not genetically modified. It's within, like tomatoes and oranges and a lot of these things in cans. They're adding extra acids that are genetically modified. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just not needed. So I don't quite understand it. But I'm hoping at least we'll get choices of things on the marketplace that for people that need to avoid these unnecessary extras, or at least unnecessary in my mind, just give us a choice, a clear, open, clearly labeled choice. And this is what it appears that most of the organic farmers are attempting to do. Just be open and above board. They want to be with what their food contains. They don't have any reason to hide what the food is because there is nothing in it other than food. And most people now are becoming educated that real foods like butter and cream and salt, eggs, especially egg yolks, all these things that have been animal fat, normal, healthy animal fat from cows that graze on normal pastures and grass rather than being fed foods that are impregnated with low levels of antibiotics in order to make them grow bigger, faster, to produce more meat. Just give us a choice, especially somebody like me that has to suffer quite a bit when I can't avoid it enough. And darn it, I want to stop at my little coffee bar and get a smoothie now and then. Lots of whipped cream, real whipped cream. And when you get the real stuff, I think even the allergies that a lot of people might have to dairy products will disappear. And I've read scientific studies, medical professionals who also agree that that's probably true or have stated that they believe it is. So here I went into the one thing I was most afraid people wouldn't want to hear about. Same thing that I had started to say earlier that Lonnie mentioned in video number 47 about my query letters in Molasses Moon. They're what I most wanted to talk about and most wanted to document, most wanted people to know about and to share. Just felt compelled, like that's what I was supposed to do, but felt the fear of them being boring to people that would read them. Lonnie brought forth the idea that that was just my insecurity. He didn't realize that part, but just saw the value in them creating suspense. And I'm fairly certain that this is the same thing. But I'm wanting to talk about the food industry and soy and GMOs, but also trying to present it in such a way that people realize they don't have to just be afraid of it and make any gross, big steps, which normally won't happen anyway because most people just want to remain with what is. Want to go to the grocery store and buy what's there. They don't want to have to study the labels. They want to just go to a restaurant and eat what tastes good and not worry about what it might be made from. I'm the same. It's what I want to do too. It's only because of my health condition of health that I've been forced to study all these things. So as I say, I think it'll all balance out and the majority of the population will weather it well. But those of us on the fringe of health and different types of strength or weaknesses will probably be the ones to show or expose what can happen in the long run if this were to go on too long or on too large of a level. So anyway, I hope the day will come that I'll be able to, somebody will wise up and present not only the smoothies that are available now in the powdered form with a lot of soy and the lemonade, with all that powdered stuff in it from soybean farming or whatever you want to call it, and give me some that's real, that doesn't have any of that unnecessary stuff. And the other thing I've noticed, one more little fly in the ointment, is that I have noticed that in some grocery stores sometimes produce is being sprayed with what tastes and smells to me like soybean oil. And I've noticed that presence on like the skins of limes and lemons and fruits, all types of fruits, even on organic bananas. I don't know how it got on there, but they smell and taste just on the external part of the skin, like soy. So, am I paranoid? Or is this true? I think it'd be easy enough to find out. But it just doesn't make any sense to me at all why lemons and limes would have to have soy on the skin. Because unfortunately, one thing that is pretty clear too is that soybeans are strong enough that they also, when they're on something, like sprayed on something, it's really hard to get them off. And when you cook and fry things with soybean oil, it penetrates even at high heats much more than a lot of other types of oils do. But the good thing, this to me is a good thing, the fatty acids have been altered enough genetically. I think there are, I can't remember if there's 4 of them at different percentages. One would be a higher percentage than the others in a different balance. And they tweak the balance of these fatty acids in soy they finally tweaked it. It's been a few years ago, I think, enough that you could use just regular soybean oil, not hydrogenated, to cook with at very high temperatures, much higher than any other types of oils, as far as not having a smoking point. And the types of foods that they're cooking, being able, like with French fries and things, to cook at very high temperatures, that feels to me like a good thing somehow. I think a little bit less of the oil penetrates the higher the temperature, but it still does penetrate a little bit more, from what I've read anyway, than other types of oils. So here we go again with my little thorn in my side, or in my back, whichever you want to say. But it has reduced considerably, and something BJ did that I'd like to talk about later too, that would show some hope for everybody in the medical profession, of being able to very easily shift into some of what is being discovered now as a lot more healthy ways to deal with different diseases, but are simpler and a lot lower cost. But there are ways, I think, that this shift can happen with nobody having to lose. The economy be remaining stable. There are ways that this can happen. And what she did would be just a beginning point of example of how she could shift her own business, which is already very healthy, using Reiki and an awareness that we've worked together on of how magnesium can be input transdermally and in her therapeutic sessions with tremendously beneficial results. So there's a lot of, I think, good things, good potential to come. And I look forward to the day that we don't have any more daylight savings time. And that's a silly little thing, but it's a big thing for me. And to the day that you can have powdered drinks in restaurants that have a choice of either the way they are now, with the soybean powder in it and the other stuff, or just the pure food. So I can have them again. And instead of I'd like to have some of the restaurants that are organic and no GMO and no soy locally. That'd be really great. But what would be possible, it would take some juggling, but to have the restaurants that are already here and the chains and everything to offer an alternate menu for people that want to get away from soy and GMOs. Supposedly, though, it's hard to separate it because when you cook with soy, it goes into the air. But that would still be less that you'd be ingesting if the menu could offer some organic, no soy, no all the things that I need to get away from and people like me. That sure be nice. I think if that were going on now, the magnesium input I've already learned how to, I don't know if you want to call it, what to call it, worked with. It's very possible that I would have already begun to regress aging. And I actually have a few concerns with that. I don't really want to live forever. Not in this type of setting, I don't think. Unless it were to improve quite a bit like I described at the end of Molasses Moon of imagining a better future. That reminds me that I did use a keyword or a tag, better future, on that one. And I opened it up talking about that. So that might have been one of the things that attracted a few people, especially with this year, 2012, having people just slightly agitated about some of the, what would you call it, hype about the end of the world type thing. I don't sense that myself. I just sense a major change in consciousness, as I've said, that should be for the good. So it's time to end this one. I'm going to take my cue. And hope this video will be okay to upload. I am going to go ahead and upload number 57. I was pretty happy with that one. And actually, I was concerned about 56. I did upload that one too. And it's serving its purpose too. I think it'll serve it very well. So thanks for listening. And I'll sign off again. And what shall I say last? Something I want to wish good. Happy eating. To a better future. May it come to pass as soon as possible.